Blizzard has announced the Blood Knight, a mid-range class with hybrid attack options, launches in free-to-download mobile game Diablo Immortal. Oh. Well, that's a bit more of a disappointing start than I planned. Alright, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to some more Diablo. Intro aside, this is actually going to be somewhat of a positive video. Yeah, all my Call of Duty subscribers are probably very confused. Usually I'm the first person to start bitching about the devs, but with a couple of exceptions, all the stuff I've seen about Season 1 has been pretty good so far. Although I should add a quick disclaimer, this is for me as a player. I know all the super hardcore guys have their own lists of complaints or whatever. We'll get to that in a second. For today, I think I'm just going to run some random nightmare dungeons while I talk about all this Season 1 stuff. I'll do this one. Oh, also, before I go do that, quick update on the Paragon board here. I realized after making the last video that the intelligence counter down there is only for the bonus effect, so I could have selected this the whole time and I was just sitting on 9 Paragon points for no fucking reason. What can you do, man? Oh, and real quick before we get started here, make sure you leave a like if you are enjoying the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Once Season 1 drops, I'm gonna be pumping out the Diablo content, so if this is your thing, definitely stick around. Now, on the subject of Season 1, obviously it's been a few days at this point since the dev stream regarding the Diablo updates, and I know a lot of people feel different ways about, you know, what's been announced, the updates that have been promised, the things that are coming and all that stuff. But I gotta say, I for one am actually really surprised at just the amount of content that is apparently coming. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a seasonal update. I obviously expected there to be a pretty significant amount of content, but I didn't expect them to do an entire, like, story chapter or story mission in addition to it. Because for anybody who didn't play Diablo 3, we essentially only got one story expansion, right? We got the Reaper of Souls expansion, and that was it. And, like, yeah, we got the seasonal updates, but we weren't getting, like, story missions or anything like that. But apparently there's actually going to be a main quest involved with the whole Season of the Malignant update. Which, by the way, in case you're not a Diablo guy, the season is called Season of the Malignant. I guess I probably should have talked about that first. Listen, man, I record these live and I don't script them. What do you want from me? But yeah, so with the Season of the Malignant update, apparently we're going to be getting a full story mission that surrounds the emergence of malignant monsters that are going to be more powerful than your usual elites, I guess. Which I gotta say is pretty cool. I think one of the issues with Diablo 3, especially for me, was the kind of lack of monster variety. Like, yeah, there were a lot of different monsters in the game, but they didn't really add any, at least not as far as I remember, outside of, again, the Reaper of Souls update, that is. So the malignant enemies are going to be, like, much stronger, I guess, than your typical elites, but in addition to that, you're apparently going to be able to extract, like, their hearts or some effect off of them, and it'll actually change how your legendaries work. And the selling point of this is going to be that it'll open up a whole lot of different builds for all the classes, which, again, I gotta say is very cool. Because, again, back in Diablo 3, I mean, they did mess around with the build balancing, and they added sets here and there, but for the most part, oh my god, what the f just happened there? But yeah, for the most part, the builds didn't really change. They just sort of altered as far as power scaling was concerned. So that's gonna be really cool. We're gonna be seeing some new builds. Again, like I said, there's gonna be story content associated with it. How in-depth that is will remain to be seen. Because, like, obviously, you know, it could just be a couple of quick little missions and then you're done. Like, you know, I might be making it out to be this cool big thing right now, but for all we know, it could be like an hour's worth of content. But I don't know, I have faith in the devs. Oh, and the other cool thing that they said is apparently as far as these malignant things go, you will be able to get them in the Eternal Realm, meaning on non-seasonal characters, unless I'm mistaken. Now, I'm not so sure about the seasonal story content. I didn't see any confirmation as to whether you actually had to have a seasonal character to do that, or if you could, like, continue the story on your main just in the Eternal Realm. But it's still cool that they're, you know, kind of trying to throw a bone to the people who don't want to do a seasonal reset. We'll see if they continue down that path with subsequent seasons, or if this is just kind of how it's going to be. Although, on the subject of seasonal resets and people not liking it, I do want to say, I have seen a lot of, you know, the non-hardcore players starting to come around to the idea of seasonal reset, particularly on Twitter. I think what I said in the last video is sort of starting to come true, or maybe it was 2 videos ago at this point, I don't even remember. But yeah, basically in the last video where I was saying that, you know, once the less hardcore players start getting into the higher levels and they start running out of things to do, they'll maybe come around a little bit more to the idea of resetting their character or trying a new class. That seems to be the case, at least from what I've been seeing on Twitter and stuff. Now, moving on into the seasonal content, as far as the battle pass goes, once again, it's actually going to be a little bit cooler than I expected. So there's going to be, I think it said 27 tiers for free players, and then the other 63 out of the 100 will be for, you know, like the paid battle pass, right? Which I think is pretty typical of what you'd expect from a battle pass. Although the one good thing that they did do, which, I mean, obviously would be really bad if they did this the other way, apparently one of the features that's coming to, I don't know if it's the battle pass or it's like separate seasonal content, but there's going to be these like ashes you can get, and you can use them to upgrade specific things about your character and how they interact with the world. So it's things like how much XP you get from killing monsters, how much gold you get from like selling items. Those are the two that are like sticking in my head at the moment. It's kind of like if you've ever played Persona 5, the Royal Edition, it's sort of like what you can do with Jose and Mementos, where you can like change how the world works using different things you find. Now, it's a pretty cool system inherently, but the nice thing that they did is they did not paywall that apparently. They said specifically that everything that will be gameplay altering in any way outside of like like cosmetic stuff is going to be completely free for any player. So like you don't have to pay any money for anything that's going to affect your character in like a meaningful way as far as like your ability to clear content or like what you're getting out of the content. The only stuff that's going to be paid, I guess, is going to be cosmetic related, which again, I mean, it feels obvious, but you know, there's been a whole lot of issues, particularly with like Call of Duty and some other things out there where devs are starting to skirt the line more and more these days as far as what is and isn't paid in like battle passes and DLCs and stuff. And especially what with how Diablo Immortal has gone and like been received with the microtransactions and people wailing and shit. It's good to see that at least for this game, Blizzard is pretty firmly committed to trying to keep things fair for everybody. Now, as far as whether or not that stuff's going to be accessible to people who are not seasonal, I don't know. I didn't see anything about that. I'm kind of hoping they'll do something like that. Maybe not exactly the same with the Ashes system. Like, I'm not saying they need to make, you know, each and every single upgrade available to seasonal players also available to non-seasonal players, but I think they should do something. I mean, some of them I think aren't necessary. Like, just off the top of my head, the XP one, I feel like most people who have characters that are high enough level they don't want to reset or anything like that, they're probably not hurting for XP, at least not to a degree that they're willing to go out of their way to farm other content in order to upgrade how much XP they can actually get. But like I said, it does kind of suck that they're not really planning on throwing a bone to, you know, people who don't want to do seasonal characters. I mean, it still is a good thing that they're making the, you know, new kinds of items accessible to them, but I still think that they should at least give them something in the way of content so they're not just mindlessly grinding the same stuff over and over again. All right, what do I want to do next here? Let's see. Let's just do this one. Oh, hey, look, I'm going to the Helltide area. Very nice. And I got free renown for discovering an area. And actually, that does transition us kind of into the one thing that I didn't like, and also the one thing I think most people seem to have the biggest problem with, which is that they are apparently going to be resetting renown for the most part. This was one of the biggest points of contention for most people, I think, when talking about the idea of a seasonal reset, is having to do the renown grind again, because I don't think really anybody likes it. Now, in fairness, they did say that seasonal characters will be keeping, like, map exploration, as well as altars of Lilith. Like, you won't have to do that stuff again, which, don't get me wrong, that's definitely nice and very much so appreciated. I mean, not that I really care. I haven't done either of those things yet, so I wouldn't really give a crap either way if they reset that. But that being said, it does suck for people who, you know, went out of their way to do all the strongholds and the side quests and the dungeons and all the other things that you need to do in order to grind your renown up. Just because I know the whole grind can be a pain in the ass. I mean, it's such a pain in the ass, I haven't even done it yet. Like, I mean, seriously, look at this shit. I've, like, barely touched the renown grind. I've really only done enough for, like, potion capacities and stuff. And the reason is very specific. I just don't feel like taking the time to do it. Now, I might end up getting around to it once we have Season 1 and, like, depending on how much content there is to do and how much, like, doing renown quests affects your battle pass and stuff. If renown quests are efficient for the battle pass, obviously I'm going to do them, right? But that being said, I am most definitely curious to see whether this is something that the devs are going to take a look at for future seasons, because I think for the most part, the renown grind is something that's pretty universally disliked. But yeah, I mean, aside from that, there's really not a whole lot about Season 1 that I personally dislike. I know, once again, a lot of, like, more hardcore players than me have a bit of a different opinion as far as resetting and all this stuff, but for the most part, everything I've seen has been pretty good in my mind. Like, you know, as I was saying at the beginning, we're apparently going to be getting way more content than I expected. Obviously, more content's almost never a bad thing. I'm very excited for the idea of being able to try new builds. I think that's going to be cool. Obviously, I've only really played 2 characters, so it's not like I've had a chance really to get bored of other builds, but still, I'm very interested to see what these malignant legendary items end up being. Now, it did say in the loading screen the season's going to be starting on the 20th. I read something that said it's going to start on the 18th. I don't really know what that's about. I don't know if that's just, like, people reporting wrong, or I don't know, maybe there's some kind of, like, special preload you can do on the 18th. Hell if I know. But regardless, man, I'm really excited. And I know the pessimists out there are like, oh, it's Blizzard, they'll still find a way to fuck it up, it's not going to be what we expect, blah, blah, blah. At the very least, for Season 1, I will be grinding the Battle Pass regardless of how good or bad it is, just because I did buy the deluxe edition of the game so I could get early access. So I believe I don't need to purchase the Season 1 Battle Pass, I just have it. Altar of Immolation, what the hell is this? I've never seen this before. Oh god, what the heck? Yo, 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 what's going on here? What am I trying to do? Why am I, help? I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing something. Massacre enough enemies, I appear to have done. This is good, right? Maybe, possibly, perhaps? What is happening here? Help. Dude, there's so much fire, I can't see anything. Okay, we're good, I think. Oh, we're not good. Wait, that's a boss. Or, not a boss, an elite. You know what I mean. I heard a thing drop. I don't know what the thing that dropped is. I heard it, though. Okay, killed it. We're good. What did I get for this? A chest. Am I gonna get anything useful out of the chest? No. Can't have any more murmuring obols. Why the fuck not? All right, hold on a second. Well, actually, on that note, sorry for the kind of lack of general gameplay in this video. Obviously, this was going to be more of a commentary from the get-go. Season 1's kind of just around the corner. This is what everybody's talking about at this point, you know? That's kind of why I've sort of stopped grinding this character nearly as much. I mean, obviously, there's still a ton for me to do on this character as far as, you know, getting leveled up, getting to World Tier 4. There's a lot of, like, optimization and better stuff I could do with this build, or maybe I don't even want to use this build anymore. I don't know. But what with a brand new season dropping in less than 2 weeks, it doesn't really feel like there's a whole lot of point for me to just mindlessly dungeon grind for XP so I can get, you know, marginally stronger on a character I'm probably not going to play for at least a month. Although one thing I was thinking about doing, I know in the last episode I was talking about how I wanted to play a rogue for season 1 barring any like massive balancing changes, and that is still the case, but one thing I was thinking I might do just since I kind of have the time here is I might just make a rogue and try and power level it to 50 or something like that, just so I can experiment with it, the builds, and, you know, the general playstyle and see if I'll actually like it. Obviously, I've seen gameplay at this point. I've seen like what the builds look like and how clearing dungeons looks. It looks like a lot of fun, and a lot of people have told me it's a lot of fun, but obviously you're not going to know these things for yourself unless you actually play the characters, so I figured it might be worth dumping a few hours into. Seething Hive Master. I don't know if I've ever fought this before. Interesting. I didn't like that. Don't do that again. Yeah, that is the one nice thing about this build. Even though the damage is on pretty significant cooldowns, you do melt bosses. Although I did see a couple versions of this build on YouTube, actually, with, I don't know, just like massive amounts of cooldown reduction. I think there's a legendary you can get that makes your charge bolts bounce more, which in turn increases cooldown reduction due to certain passives, I guess. I need to look into how the build is actually done, but in the video it was insane. The guy had unstable currents on like a 10-second cooldown or something like that. Sacred Legendary Wand, with an effect I do not use. And I think that's about it for this one. I know I skimmed over a lot of details. I probably skipped a few things here and there regarding Season 1. I mean, everyone and their mothers probably made a video in-depth analyzing the patch notes and the announcements and whatnot. You guys don't need me to do it too. Regardless though, I am excited. I know there's a couple things here and there that seem iffy, but for the moment, I'm willing to put my faith in Blizzard. I know some people have been complaining about the game, but I've been absolutely loving it from launch. And yeah, I'm excited to see what they got in store. And as always, if you did enjoy this video, definitely make sure you leave a like and subscribe if you want to come back for more content. That's about it. I'll see you guys in the next one.